Hey guys, the Nintendo hype cycle can be fun at times. When it comes to some core franchises, the discourse can be wacky to say the least, and sometimes downright toxic. This environment hurts us as fans, as well as Nintendo trying to make fun games and profits. This can manifest itself into a doom spiral, and this is the exact thing I've been thinking about and wanting to avoid. This started as a Metroid Prime 4 review, but evolved into something more. If nothing else, please click the link below so we can make a positive change instead of just throwing negativity into this world. With that said, the game has been out for weeks now, and besides with putting over 40 hours into the game, basically 100%ing it, I have read and listened to many, almost every single review of the game, and while there have been crazy points from both sides, the consensus of the game in terms of overall score and quality is pretty consistent, but the message is all over the place, and the discourse has a pretty negative environment. A lot of people were vocally disappointed that this wasn't a 10 out of 10 masterpiece, and it's understandable coming from a Prime game to have such high expectations, but once it was shown that it wasn't perfect, a negative narrative just showed up, and that overshadowed almost all of the positivity. Is Metroid Prime 4 perfect? Absolutely not. The graphics, controls, and bosses are all top-notch. Their design, while not as labyrinthian as the old game, is fun and a fantastic entry point for newcomers. Yes, the bike and voice acting could have been done better, but that is not why the game failed to meet expectations. The bike had some fun moments. It objectively looks cool and has potential. The desert has all the same upsides and potential. The bike could have used a couple of more moves, or a minigame, or a racing minigame or something like that. And the desert definitely could have had more stuff inside. But the real problem was the constant backtracking and petting. Having to ride the back multiple times just to unlock elemental shots, and the green energy side quest was just filler. It kills momentum and replayability. Fix that and the bike would have been a slick way to get around, like Samus's gunship in Prime 3. People still defend Wind Waker's great seat in current year, then the bike deserves to stay. The NPCs were a swing and a miss. I largely ignored them. I couldn't hear them half the time. The comms were not ineligible, but it's just background noise for me going about my day. Yes, babysitting them for 5 minutes was annoying, but that wasn't the biggest problem of the game. One of the biggest problems of the game has to do with the NPCs and the ending, but that is a spoiler and I don't want to get into it now, but that was probably the worst thing about the game. So now we pivot from the NPCs to my actual point. If anyone remembers what torpedoed this game from the start, it was all the negative discourse around the desert, and most of all the NPCs. When preview footage dropped, journalists, YouTubers, and everyone else started wailing about my isolation in a Metroid game.
That just does not seem Metroid. Like, the whole point is supposed to be about isolation.
Metroid Prime, that feeling of pure isolation
could potentially have an impact on the atmosphere and the feeling of claustrophobia and isolation
of exploration in total isolation of Metroid's signature isolation.
Exploration and puzzles and mystery and atmosphere and isolation.
Ask any Metroid fan what they love about the series, and if they don't say something about the gameplay, the Metroidvania formula, then they're gonna say it's the atmosphere, it's the feeling of isolation, it's the vibes.
Suddenly, all the ghosts of the past Metroid debates came back to haunt Samus. The poor woman can't even grab a coffee at the nearest galactic Starbucks without thousands of journalists, Nintendo YouTubers, and commentators screaming that she should brew her coffee from Metroid blood while she's killing Ridley for the 17th time, all while telling Adam she won't be bossed around by a man, all in the most isolated part that has ever existed in the galaxy. Metroid is not just about isolation. Samus can't talk to people. Why? And in the end of the day, we're still talking about a preview. The game isn't even out yet, but everyone has already ordered their pitchforks from Amazon Prime, ready to rage at Nintendo and Metroid again, without even buying or playing the game. Mind you, this was a preview. God forbid a modern game ships without an annoying hand-holding momentum-killing tutorial. Even first-party Nintendo titles do this now. We should have waited before we sound the alarms. The discourse was so far removed from that at launch that whoever could have been interested in the franchise for the first time opens the door, sees a bunch of people running around with their hair on fire until they slowly walk back and close the door. No nuance, no chance, just perfection or nothing. The most confusing thing about the discourse is that people were complaining about non-linearity in the Prime game, like this was a Prime game, not Super. The chasm in Metroid games about linearity is another wedge issue that the series fan base must overcome. I will be the first to admit that I like Super the best. I think that game is probably the best NES game, and people were not wrong calling it the best game of all time when it came out. It did so many things about level design, fused with game mechanics, that created an awesome experience that can be played at your own pace. Rewards skilled players, looks amazing, has amazing music and ambiance, all in a non-linear fashion, and I wish more games were like it. Please, Nintendo. But as fans, we can sit and complain about not getting the exact thing and suffocate anything else that comes out. Or we can enjoy what we get and call out what works and try to hope for another time. I'm not saying that you cannot hope for your version of Metroid to be made, but don't die on that hill. Mario, the platforming genre, has many different ones. 2D, 3D, sandbox, 3D linear, 3D. I think, and I know, that Mario 64 was the peak in the series in terms of overall and 3D games. That does not mean that a true fan only likes that one type of game and will only accept that type. Other games can do other things better. One can have preferences, but the series itself has room to be other things. We would not get other games like Sunshine or Odyssey if I strictly just like 64 and want 64 2 and 64 3. Yes, I understand 64 is better than those games, but it's nice that we have multiple ones and they can all exist together. On a side note, if a non-linear game fails, then that is way worse than if a linear game fails. It has a larger downside in terms of sales and being fun, because if you're playing a non-linear game and you're just lost, that is probably one of the most boring things possible. Another side note, for all you Sakamoto haters and Gunpei haters on Reddit, I see you. I understand we want more games like Super, but to completely put the blame on those two for the direction of the series is doing it out of ignorance and guessing. I've poured through many different interviews with them, and I could not find out where the direction for non-Super games fully came from. Maybe fully from Sakamoto, maybe from Nintendo as a whole, as after the SNES and NES, Zelda and Metroid games lost their non-linearity up until Breath of the Wild. So a lot of this is just speculation. Maybe we need to join together, like Zelda fans, to demand a more non-linear, not open-world Metroid game. But note that Prime was never it. The Prime series was never the non-linear Metroid game that we were looking for. Everyone praising Prime for decades is fine, but is not what a non-linear progressive game. The weapons all had an order, and you have to stick to it. It also had an annoying fetch quest that no one is vocal about today. And the people saying that I'm holding Prime 4 to an unfair 20-year-old standard, LOL, most modern games don't hold up to a 20-year-old ones, except graphically. I paid $40 for Overwatch back in the day, a hero shooter with no campaign, could have run on a Pentium 2 without the graphics. Prime 4 nailed bosses and art design in ways that games do few today. Prime 1 still does modern things that shooting games and walking simulators don't. We as a fanbase have to be open to multiple different styles of Metroid, linear and non-linear branches, existing side by side. Dread did so many things right. Besides for being the perfect sequel to Fusion, it pushed the series forward in other ways. Yes, we want more non-linearity, and some isolation, LOL, but the series can evolve while keeping both. We have to at least accept different genres. Now, just to address some issues, one might say, what about Other M and Federation Force? Do we have to accept that? No, you don't have to accept other games. Like I said before, I like Super the best, and I would love to see more Super games. But if you're looking at the franchise as a whole, there's a lot that the fanbase has gotten wrong about those games. Other M's biggest failure wasn't just the non-linearity and the narrative aspects, because the narrative aspects were failures of localization and timeline placement. Instead of asking for a fix or educating ourselves about that, we took the clickbait shortcut and dogpiled on the game without understanding what's wrong with it. A narrative issue that could easily be fixed by slotting it in an earlier timeline with a better localization could have saved the game. Something that Zelda does all the time, by the way. Federation Force. How dare Nintendo try something popular and fun, especially when Dread and Returns were already in the pipeline. You have no idea how many people secretly love that game and are now too grown up to admit it. It could have been the gateway to millions of new Metroid fans. And don't get me started on the millions of Zelda fans who keep saying they want a female protagonist in their game Zelda. Some other points. For the people who love the Prime trilogy and disappointed in this game, I hear you. I'm disappointed too. I wish the games were deeper. Personally, I still like the 2D games better, and think that when Dread came out, a lot of misplaced hype and attention was not pointed to Dread itself, but everyone was talking about how good Prime 4 was going to be, which definitely could have affected sales and overall hype and what the game deserves, because Dread is an amazing game. Like it or like Super or not, it really was a good game. As for the Prime 4 criticism, listen, I understand it's a low-hanging fruit to make fun of the NPCs, haha, they're dumb and annoying, but that's not why the game failed. If the game was deeper, then the hand-holding part wouldn't be such a big issue. If the game was a little bit more complicated, had more depth in terms of level design, then yeah, having NPCs helping you out isn't the worst thing. And again, having NPCs talking to Samus can be done tastefully. I do have to admit that I do have some blame in this. I was away at the time, so I was put off by all the negativity other M had and did not play it for myself. I'm sorry. I should have played it for myself, and I should have been able to tell everyone what. Same thing with Federation Force. I played it lightly, but I wasn't the target audience at the time and think that it was okay. I did, however, play Returns, and I loved it. I pre-ordered the amiibo. I pre-ordered everything for Returns because I was so excited for it. I could have done more in the past, but that's in the past. I think we can do some more things in the future. And that is why I set up the change.org. It's not just complaining about what needs to be done. We also want to thank Nintendo for making Metroid and asking for more, as well as thanking for the new and old. If nothing else, please hit up the site and make your voice heard. With all that said, I have a lot to say in terms of Metroid. I have a couple of ideas about just the Metroids themselves, a review for Prime 4, or for a review for Pinball I've been playing recently. I have a lot of thoughts and ideas. Please let me know what you want me to do first, and I can get into it. Or I can just rip the band-aid off and go straight to an Other M defense review. Let me know what you guys think. And remember, you too can make a difference. You just have to know how. Have a great day. Peace.